and they can really play an orchestra, a fourth, pizzicato, wonderful in time and wonderful color, and there's also virtuosity. Not that you play fast or fast movements, whatever.
I had such a good time talking to today's guest. I have been a fan of his for years, and it's great to get him on the show. I'm Jason Heath. This is Contrabass Conversations. We're talking today with Petru Iuga, who teaches in Mannheim, Germany. I don't even know how to describe Petru. He's just an incredible musician, incredible teacher, incredible person. Just what a wonderful personality. I have been following him for years. I've gotten to spend some time with him in person. I just think the world of him, and this is a really fun conversation. His father, unfortunately, passed away right before recording this, so we talk about that and just life in general, but many, many topics about some of the innovations Petru has been experimenting with on the bass, teaching in general, lots of good topics. This was such a soulful and wonderful episode for me. Quick shout out to our sponsors, Dorico, Ear Trumpet Labs, and Modacity. More on them later, but let's get into this conversation with Petru Iuga. Well, it's an honor to talk with you. I've been a fan of yours for forever. I've seen you. I think we've hung out at the same dinners together at some bass events and stuff. We did. Yeah, and you've been recommended. People say, "Oh, you got to talk to Petru about." And so it's great to spend some time, and we'll get a chance to do this again in person soon. And I'm so sorry to hear about your father. That's really I really my heart goes out to you. That's
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm really sorry.
Yeah, it was sudden, so I didn't expect. I mean, he had a nice age, 85, and was a nice age, but he was quite healthy. I mean, he had some hard things like all people have, like tension, pressure, blood pressure. Mm-hmm. But somehow he got a cold. I even am not sure if it's COVID, because they didn't want to check. Not because if it's COVID, then it's terrible. You have to, you cannot really make funerals really right. So, it's a big loss. Yeah. Lost for me, and now I have to degenerate it.
Right.
It take a period, but makes me. Think deeper.
I'm sure.
Even deep. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. My condolences. That's.
Thank you. Thank you.
Are you in Mannheim right now? Is that where you're at, or where are you at right now?
I'm actually at my grandparents' place.
Okay.
Because for the moment I have holiday in Mannheim. Mm-hmm. And I'm teaching online for Lausanne, so my wife kind of needs some help with the baby, and we decided to come here. And then, so it's not my usual practice room. looks very scientific, but it's not.
I love your background. I was going to say, it doesn't look like the same room that you were in, but
last time, yeah.
Wow. How has the last year been for you? So I'm in San Francisco, and the United States is terrible. We're the absolute worst we like to be the best at everything. So we're the best at being bad with viruses, I guess. It's just incredible.
Well, it's really, I mean, we of course we're very attentive, and we always try to inform it. But I was really shocked about the U.S. Mm-hmm. They mess it up.
Yeah,
they mess up. They're terrible.
I know.
But probably it was many factors that played for this. I mean, maybe the politic and maybe the people attitude. So there's a mix of everything. In Germany is not very clean either. There are also people who complain and blame the rise. They don't believe in the assistance of the COVID and this kind of thing. But that exists everywhere.
Yeah,
just should not get too many. So
yeah,
they get a 51%, then it's really bad.
Right. Yeah. Well, things are starting to look up here. At least, my wife is in healthcare, and she got the vaccine already, and
my wife too. Yeah.
Okay. And so we're starting to open up. Here in California, the weather's pretty nice all year, so they've started to have some music outside, and that's been great. And people are
fantastic.
People are so thirsty for the music too. You're seeing people I am going out on the weekend, Saturday Saturday, we'll go, and there's this big park, and they set up, it's called the Bay Area Jazzmobile. They come out, and these people play, and all the cafes, people are out and listening, and it's
fantastic.
Yeah, so slowly, the symphony is starting to doing some things again, and it's all very, very slow, but coming back. But I'm assuming you've been.
But I used to.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh no, but I'm assuming you've been teaching just like normal, I guess, or maybe doing on Zoom, or what have you been doing?
I mean, I was trying to say, in all these bad things are coming good things out. So, people start to be really creative. They were forced, to deal with the situation. So I think we kind of grow up. I mean, I grew up in the situation, Of course, I lost my father, but I really grow up. With technology even more. So like teaching online, and I develop. It's not that I teach like directly, so somebody's playing. Because I tried at the beginning, when we start in March in Germany, I was trying to with Zoom. So I bought the best one, and then I realized that with the sound was problematic.
Yeah.
And it was late and stops and not always good connection, whatever. So and then I said, okay, guys, you record the piece, the scales, the etude, everything we have mixed with the student. You record it, you download on YouTube. We meet like on Skype or on Zoom, and we can discuss about the recording you sent to me.
Yeah. And
the student, I was really surprised that they improved so much.
Yeah.
Because of course I just realized myself, because when you're a teacher, it's kind of you have to be self-analyzing yourself, so be critical with yourself. So don't think you're everything. So what I did always, I practice, and then I record myself, and then I analyze myself. So I didn't touch the bass for 3 days, and I was just analyzing and thinking, And then when I put the hands, was like amazing. I was forward without to practice it, because I practiced that with the mind, and that what happened with the students. They got this. We said in German, Vogelperspektive. That means like a bird perspective. So you start to look from up to your plane. So that means we brought up like you. So then we look on the video, and I said, okay, stop. You see how you see the arm, how you vibrato is, how the frame, how you bowing, how, what articulation. So they could really have a distance what they do, mentalize it, and give tips what should practice, and then make notes. I can make notes on my iPad, and I make a line, and I send it to them. So they were really starting to be more precise in practicing than normal, because, they practice, they play, and even they don't play really perfect, it's I can repeat it again. Yep. But when they record, they have to record it to send it to me. They have to send the best one, and to be coherent, to fit the beginning and the end. It was a huge experience for me, a student.
My practicing companion, Modacity, this awesome app. It is so great for getting you to really think about your practicing. And there's what's called a deliberate practice mode. It tracks everything that you are improving upon and time spent in every piece. And it's just so great. Here is founder and CEO of Modacity, Mark Gelfo, on what the app does.
I use the deliberate practice feature in Modacity a ton. So what I'm logging my improvements. I improved my articulation today by using this strategy. And then I see that in my log. So I see all the improvements that I made, the strategy that led to that improvement. I see the star rating as well as the time spent.
It is so satisfying to be able to look back on your history like Mark's describing. I do that all the time, and it keeps me inspired and energized and feeling like I'm really making progress. Learn more at modacity.co. And if you visit our site, we've got a special offer for lifetime access for this app. Thank you so much for sponsoring the podcast, Modacity. This episode is brought to you by Ear Trumpet Labs. They make hand-built mics out of Portland, Oregon, and they have an excellent mic for upright bass called Nadine. The Nadine is a condenser mic with a clear, natural sound and incredible feedback rejection. This mic is a completely new design. The head mounts in between the strings above the tailpiece with a rubber grommet, and the body securely straps to the tailpiece with Velcro elastic. A 14-inch Mogami cable connects the two parts, making it easy to place on any bass. It's durable and holds up to the demanding needs of the instrument while offering excellent sound quality. Ear Trumpet Labs is offering a free t-shirt just for Contrabass Conversations listeners with the purchase of a mic. Just visit www.eartrumpetlabs.com/contrabass to claim yours and check out the Nadine. It's such a great teaching tool, isn't it? Because as soon as you have to have somebody record it, the question is that the best you can do? And the answer is almost always no. So it makes the student, because you're laying something down, and it almost reminds me of the way sports teams, they do playbacks, right? You record the practice or you record the game and then you watch and you say, just like you were saying, stop. Do you see that? You see that right there? That's the thing, that athletics have been doing that for years, and we tend not to do that in music. So it's that's great. You're finding all the benefits of teaching this way. I mean, of course, it's great to be in the same room with people, and we'll all look forward to doing that, I'm sure. But how cool you're probably getting, in some ways, a deeper experience, analyzing like that, just because they're putting so much work into every recording.
Yes, exactly. I had also, I think was difficult with students who just came in, because the thing is, of course, you develop a certain, let's say, langage, a kind of way of speaking, as a vocabulary that you develop. I mean, you are like a teacher, and the student have to get your vocabulary first, and second, then they have to really smell your how you do it. So it's a process with every student that they have to to accumulate things, understand how to position, because I have my own concept and measurements, and that you cannot do online. I mean, you can send it to him, but you cannot do it. So that was the kind of a little bit hard with people who started. And then I did really, I did an exception, and I went to the school with mask, and I teach them that I get this beginning really right. And then when it still is functioning, then you just have the words, and then it's connecting much easier. But with the beginners and even people online, sending me videos or, teaching in the master classes online. Of course, it's kind of, you listen, you give them a general idea, but it's not the same when you're in front.
Yeah, that's a great observation. That's something I've noticed myself, because I don't do much teaching these days, but I do have 2 private students, and I've taught them for several years, so in person. And so I have that connection with them because they know me, they know how we do things, we can talk. But I've had a couple of students that I've only taught online, and even though they're great people, I've just never had that connection. And I think it's because we haven't had what you're describing, that being in the same place and just really getting that foundation. Then they know you, they know just the way the flow goes, and I think it's probably an easier transfer online if you have that foundation like you're describing.
Yeah, I think so. This is really, I think this presence we're not replacing ever.
Yeah, I know.
But I think it's alternative, because if once so that people can. I mean, we grow. I learned so much from people online. I'm watching some people on YouTube. So look, analyzing. So what they do, how they do. By the way, when I developed my bass support, the Bassstütze, the ErgoBass, I had really it was 5 years long, analyzing everything, try to see how the bass are playing, how many different ways, and how can I develop something that works for everyone who sits, So I had really to put my conception away, and being very, like a beginner analyzing someone, that I can really see the difference, what makes difference for every player. And so it's a bit the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
Developing.
When did you get the idea for the ErgoBass? It's such a brilliant idea, because that's one of the big challenges with sitting, right? You sit down and all of a sudden your body's like a mute on the bass, especially depending on the shape of your bass. It can be a really radical difference, right? And that seems to solve so many problems. When did you start thinking about developing this?
I mean, I didn't reinvent the wheel. Well, I think, people are thinking about the violin things is a bit the same, but, like everything starts with necessity. You have a necessity, something like it's missing, is a problem. There is a problem. And I had 12 years ago, I had a nice, beautiful Italian bass. Yeah. Like we know the older bass, they are big and long or whatever. So I really love the bass, but it's really tall. So I had to play with the guitar, stuff. And then I realized that I'm not free, and I would have to really put myself that it's that, and I had pain a bit, in inside of the bone here up. I don't know how you call this, and then I said, okay, there is a problem. I mean, I need to be because I started to meditate it before I did Zen, and then this balance, this centration of the body, the breath, and when I started to practice, I realized my breath is getting bad, position is not good. So, I was playing good, but I was fighting.
Yeah.
I mean, I won competition with my position before, so I was not that bad, but. Even though it's not important to win competition, but I think I kind of did play somehow, but I was not happy. So it was kind of this necessity to find to put the position somehow, to put two legs on the floor, and that I can really be stable on the floor. Because there sitting you have some advantages that you don't have in standing, and the opposite.
Yes.
So I want to say, okay, I would like a position on your seat. Normally, you have a problem with the right hand. And when you stand, you have with the left. So, and then I said, okay, somehow I have to bring it that both hands are free, because the shoulder is our most important instrument. So, and then I said, okay, somehow is the position. So I have to play on the G string. So the instrument is on the left side. So I have to somehow to bring it to the center, in my center, somehow the contact point of the G string, that I'm more centrated. And I with both feet on the floor, and I put the bass like this, and I realized there's an empty place. So I said, okay, it's like the violin. So if I want to do something, I have to improvise. So I'm kind of guy who likes to try things, and for years I was kind of looking and I improvise things, and then I somehow look at internet. So internet is great because I could search something like support bass support, something with support, and then I come on the guitar support, And I said, oh, I can take this one, and I completely modified the guitar stuff, and I put it on the bass with sucker, there's no sucker pumps.
Like the suction.
Yeah, and then the and then I said, "Wow, now I'm kind of free also in the left." And I really played for about 1 year like this. And my students started also to try it, and they were like, "Wow, cool! It sounds good. I feel better." And then I said, "Okay, I should really develop it. I should go to someone." So I go to this guitar guy who I bought the guitar stuff, and I told him, "Listen, I have an idea, so I think will be interesting for you too." So, and then he jumped in and said, "Okay, I think it's a great idea, so let's go for it." Wow. And that was a huge process. Really, it was just up and down, and then always trying things out and send it back, and I was not in the same place. They have to send it to pause, wait, and there was a huge process. But I learned so much because I had to, think of every details. What means this is actually, you see, it's quite simple. But to arrive here was a complex way of retrying things and possibilities, and even the noise. How if you said, okay, if you have a noise that's like in the car, so how you close the door is like bad car. It goes like that is a good car, So even these kind of details, so which color, so when it's black, it gives the impression it's more stable. So if you lay more light, people think, okay, it's more flexible. So all this psychological stuff, or even these I was thinking about. Yeah. And I grow so much. I'm so thankful also to the colleagues. They I sent to some great bass player, like Thierry Barbet and Joel Carrington and other bass players, Boccini. And I sent to them and said, please, can you try it out and tell me what you think? So for me, every critic was welcome because I just said, okay, I listen and I analyze the point of view, and then I go on, because I was sure it's a great idea and could help many or save many backs.
This episode is brought to you by Dorico. And one of the things that struck me about Dorico when I first opened it up was this innovative user interface design. There are 5 different modes. There is setup, write, engrave, play, and print mode. And here is Senior Product Manager Daniel Spreadbury on why they set it up like this.
As they are presented to you on the screen, they're kind of there in a strip at the top left-hand corner of the screen, and they're very prominent. You can whack them with your mouse, or if you're using a Surface, you can tap them with your finger, and that basically then changes the whole UI of the program.
It is such an innovative design. It makes working for me so much cleaner in music notation software. I have become such a fan. I use this piece of software every single day. Check them out at Dorico.com. That'll take you to their page on Steinberg's website. And there's a free version, Dorico SE, that'll let you do practically everything the program does with up to 2 parts. So that's perfect if you're working with a student or making exercises or that kind of thing. Thank you so much for sponsoring the podcast, Dorico. After several years of planning, I'm so happy that my course, Beginner's Classical Bass, is out on Discover Double Bass. This course is made up of 66, yes, that's a lot, video lessons which cover a wide range of topics on classical double bass, starting from taking your bass out of the case, which is very fun to film, and Jeff Chalmers of Discover Double Bass and I have a great blooper reel about that, and leading to different bow strokes such as staccato and portato. The topics also include posture, simple scales and arpeggios, left-hand technique, bowing technique, simple pieces which are fun to play, practice tips, and much more. You can learn more through the link in the show notes or just visit discoverdouble-bass.com/Jason Heath. It solves so many problems. I love it. And developing some product like this, even if it looks simple at the end, at the outside, there's such a story, a backstory, like what you're saying, the psychology of the color, even like you're describing, and all those little details. And it solves such a wonderful problem to solve, which is it's so great to have 2 feet on the floor. We're humans. We're meant to have our 2 feet on the floor. We walk around. So then you sit, and I studied with Jeff Bradisich for a while, who plays with both feet flat on the floor, but he's really tall. He's got long legs, and it works for him. And I was always struggling to get the bass at the right angle with both feet on the floor. So like you, I had the guitar footstool, but then it was a little wobbly. It would start to squeak. I'd knock it over in the slow movement, and then I would have the foot on the rung of the stool, but that's a little unstable. And then I started standing, because like you're describing, it's a little better for the right hand, and I'm left-handed, and I just love it's kind of like in many ways the shoulder rest problem that violinists and violists struggle with. Different obviously because of the orientation, but it just seems like such a cool solution. How long have you been I'm assuming you use it all the time now, right? When you're playing.
I mean, I can play with also without, but I remark I tense because I have to keep the bass, and generally our repertoire, solo repertoire, is on the G string. Mm-hmm. Okay, I mean I don't play everything on the G string, right, but mostly, and so of course you have to balance to bring it to the right hand. Otherwise, if you let really fall on the left side because it's on the left side, then you have a problem with the teeth. Mm-hmm. So you're kind of playing in the bow up. Mm-hmm. So this way of, because we are a gamba instrument, so we have to play down, mm-hmm, between the legs. Mm-hmm. So that also brought me that we are actually gambist.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if we have bass or continuous, like to sustain the organ, because organ couldn't, have enough air, so we have to make these long notes. That's why we call bass continuo. But if we want to play solo, it's kind of really gamba. They really keep the instruments between the legs. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So this playing down, it was important for me to develop, this right hand and keep it bring it to the right hand, mm-hmm, the center, and then also be free with the left hand, mm-hmm, So.
Mm-hmm. There's so many. There's so many. It's just so interesting. I only sat for years and years and years, and then at a certain point, I kept on doing master classes, and there wouldn't be a stool, and I played like I was 10 years old. I could barely play the bass, so I just made myself learn how to stand, and it's been, and like I said, I'm left-handed, so the standing was particularly interesting just to be able to get that leverage. But every time I play orchestra, orchestra or a chamber music gig or something, I sit. And so it's been really interesting going back and forth between those two and just thinking about balance. And yeah, I've got to try one of these because it seems to be there's so many advantages to sitting, obviously, but if you don't support the bass like that, there are so many bad habits I think you can develop as sitting. I think about my colleagues back in when I would sub in the opera orchestra back in Chicago. You see people sitting all sorts of different ways for 3-4 hours and having to compensate, and people are getting back problems like you're describing, and it's trying to be free. And then if you're standing, there's a certain freedom, but then it's harder for the left hand, and there are so many disadvantages to that too. And so what a great solution. That's incredible.
I think it's not working for everybody. I mean, I was people who said, okay, it doesn't work for me. So then I was saying, okay, it's fine. It should not be for everyone. I mean, if you have the feeling that's for me, then that's for you. And I never thought it would be like, a big, huge revolution. Of course, there are some people, they, even in Germany, he just invented nearly the same thing, but just not to touch the back. Mm-hmm. He didn't think about the position. He was thinking not to touch the back. There's a resonance of the body is better if you don't touch the back. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So he developed this, but my idea was not just not to touch the back. Mm-hmm. It was just to bring the bass in the right angle that I am more free in the shoulder, mm-hmm. and I with the both feet on the floor. So mm-hmm. that was a difference between. But I mean, I know people they use, they don't use, and they find it great. Some people say not for me, so that's fine. But I would not, or even my students, not everybody play mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. with the bass support. So I don't say you study with me, play ErgoBass. Right. I never do that. So I always wait. So I look, we try out, and then. So look the position. So when they feel, I'm not free, then they say, okay, let's try, see how you feel, and then they have to come themselves. Mm-hmm. I don't want to push them, and some people don't play because somehow they are big, with the instrument, they kind of have a good relation. Sometimes they come back and say, oh, no, I would like to play. So I have a really wonderful student, Nuno Osorio, and then he is a Portuguese guy. He's in a solistic class in Lausanne, and then he really sees. I have him since 5 years in my class, and he kind of did start without and start with, and then without, and now said, no, I really want with. So it depends of the psychology of the people, but. Some people say, no, I want to have the touch of the instrument, like this. Some Puritans are to think, I want to feel the instrument now. Mm-hmm. And it depends of those of the body, the length of the arms, how they come with, what the concept of the sound is, how they see. If some people sit very low, like some players, and play like a cello but with a big bass and play in different direction that I think so it works too for them, and I think that's our bass rich word of different way of doing it.
It's such a non-standardized world. That's sort of the beauty of it. And I think when you're dealing with a large instrument like the bass, and then an instrument like the bass where there are so many shapes and sizes too, right? And then so many different schools of playing, it's great to have all these options. Like an increasing number of people over here in the States at least are using these angled end pins. They drill the new hole in and they're standing, which kind of gives it a little bit of that feeling of sitting in some ways when you're standing. And then with the ErgoBass and sitting, or if a guitar stool or sitting low with the bass, cello style, it's just such a variety of ways. And German bow, French bow, let's not forget about that. Whether you're spending all your time with the G string, so it's great to have all these options for people to explore, because depending on your style of music, your body shape, your bass shape, just as you develop and grow as a player, I think having more options is only a good thing.
I mean, in general, we have an universal laws. I mean, there is physics, so you cannot avoid this. Even we have so rich, the differences of playing, but there is I just thought there is a physics and law of gravity and body construction. So I mean, everybody tries to get in this let's say the absolute truth, because they try to find the balance inside of them, and they look for the ways, but that's always the same, in the same direction goes, so but it's nice that they are so different. And I just thought that you talk about this end pin of what Rabat brought it in the bass word mostly. He wanted to play standing like in sitting.
Yes, exactly.
And I do the opposite. I like to play sitting like in standing.
You're both coming at the same thing from different directions. Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, he was looking like that. He kind of free. He doesn't go to back and read the bass or for the back problems, and to have more freedom for the left, so he can bring it and put certain angle, because it's for me. I was learning so much with the ErgoBass, because there's a question of mathematics. It's arithmetic, so physics and arithmetic. So the relation between your body, your contact point, instrument, how is the end pin, where is it, and how you see it, which direction. So the I'm calling this pyramid system. So it's always relation. It's never, you have always polarities. Like if one point is here is a pressure, then it should one come against to support it. So this is universal.
Yeah.
And that's why I was thinking, that probably Rabat was thinking, I would like to have, hands is free and sitting like this and move. Yeah. And he came to his sound. And me, I was the opposite. I wanted to sit, but to have this freedom of the right hand for like in standing, what is moving horizontally. Easier.
Yeah. The mathematics of the contact point and all that are so fascinating to me. And when I was much younger, I used to play with my end pin really far out and kind of out cello style. And then I had teachers who worked with me to get the end pin lower, and I thought, it's going to get the contact point away, but it's the mathematics. As you change that, it's not necessarily getting further away. It might be getting closer. And I think it's so interesting how, and again, all these different approaches we have to the bass and the angle and everything, but it's really interesting trying to find that and how the shape of the bass can make such a major difference. I had a former student who's a principal bass of an orchestra just outside of Cologne, the Westphalian Symphony. I forget what the pronunciation is in German, but he was trying out basses with me, and he's not an extremely tall guy, and he was trying this bass, but it was just maybe a centimeter or two too wide in the upper bouts. And that, even though it was only a little bit too big for him, his back was killing him. He was having all sorts of problems. He found a bass that was just 1 centimeter in or so on either rib. All the back problems went away. It's incredible what those little bits of tweaking to the geometry can do for your playing.
Yeah, you have to look to to a building, like an architect. You have to look to guys, So I think you have to have money. Look like a doctor, like a acupuncture, like an architect. You have to have many views to see the one construction is theirs. And sometimes like you said, you move a little bit things and it's completely the house come back to the balance. And I think we of course every also meditation and culture of Buddha or whatever or yoga, they always think about center, about stomach, and so that we have to think in this center and try to get it as balanced as possible. And I see most of the bass player they tense the shoulders, because they think they have to produce sound from the shoulder only. And that's somehow is producing. Of course, they reach certain level, a certain sound, image. But I think if this is really tense, you cannot be. You cannot be free. Yeah. So because you can play for certain music, maybe loud and pressed, but certain music doesn't sound good. So that's why you have to have this flexibility of the shoulders. And it helps when you keep the bass between the legs.
Yeah, for sure.
Sorry.
Oh, no worries. You know, I'm such a fan of your playing. I just love your playing. Every time I've heard you play, I can't wait to hear you again in person. But you are one of these people over here. We have some teachers like Paul Ellison, or some people that in the States that are just known as these master teachers. You're a name I hear over and over again. People are like, oh, wait, they studied with Petra, and then all of a sudden everything got unlocked. You have a reputation as really just being absolutely one of these people that can just take people to a whole new level in terms of their playing. That's the word on the street over here. and
that's very kind.
So, did you always what did you think you were going to be doing when you were younger? Like, if you go back to when you were 17 or 18, did you think you were going to be playing bass solos and teaching at the level you're at, or what did you have in mind as a career for yourself when you were younger?
Oh, that's a
big question. Sorry.
Yeah, the big question. The thing is that normally I should be a priest.
Oh, wow, really?
Actually, my mom brought me to the city because I'm born in the mountains, in a village in the mountains of Transylvania. You know, that's why people think they always correct Dracula. So, and we went to a bigger city, and my mother in Cluj-Napoca, is Klausenburg, you say in German, and then she brought me to bring me to the theology institute. That I really become a priest, because I was used to play to sing like a priest and read whatever. So make a bit. It was like a child fun. So she wanted that. Okay, I become a priest. But before bringing me to the theology, I was playing myself violin. I learned myself with one finger playing the violin.
Wow.
Somehow everything is. I don't know if it's hazard, but this hazard that something happens in your life and it brings you in a completely different way. A friend of my brother was playing violin very bad and came and played with my brother guitar, and he was violin and make a really bad noise. And they had fun, and they went after a wait for a walk. And then I took the violin and I said, oh, interesting. And I took it one finger. I said, there's the melody I can play with one finger. So I really got one string.
Wow. And
somehow I started actually to play the violin with one finger. And then he took the violin away. And then somehow we got a violin from a gypsy guy from the village my mother was looking for. And then I started to really to steal. We said always, you don't learn, you steal. You never say, I'm learning now. No, I steal. I look how he does. No, I was always watching the marriages. The weekend was marriages, and I went to look to the gypsies guys. Oh, how he does. Oh, he goes on position. I use these three. So I go fast at home and try it.
Wow.
So I was learning violin, folk music, not classical. I was learning myself, and then I was playing also myself in the marriages for a while when I was 12 or something. And then when I was the theology, so my mother had the idea not to be a musician anyway, so to be a priest, and then brought me there. And then the priest said, no, bring him to the music school. He needs some music knowledge. And I was 13, so they didn't have place only for double bass and oboe, and then I said no double bass because it's near to violin. And then I supposed to be there for 2 years and then go to the theology, but seems that my teacher see a big talent in me, and then I learning in 6 months all the positions. I was kind of really playing already in a thumb position after 6 months. And so I said, no theology. This guy stays here. And my mother was like, in our family we had priests, so he should be a priest. No. And I was very happy because I didn't want to be really a priest. I like, music, playing in the marriages. I started to smoke, so I was kind of that guy. So that was the age of 13, and then I started by 14, and then I played the bass, and then the teenager period, I kind of, bit low, didn't practice that much. But then I was lucky to have also some people who gave me a direction, said, go to Bucharest. So, and then there was a great teacher, Ioan Kepta, who is the teacher of all the Romanian bass player, inclusive Cătălin Rotaru, Gütler, Ovidiu Badila, all these names, there was passing in his hands. And then I said, okay, I go to Bucharest, and it was very far from my place. So, but I was deciding to go there, and he was really amazing pedagogue. He gave me the impression I can move mountains with the bass, So, and then he always gave me the name of the bass player, the very famous ones who was passing, and they practice like this. So kind of he inspired me to think big, And of course he gave me a lot of repertoire, and I was practicing like mad. Play all these Pruna scales and these stretchings and things, but I was not used to. And there was a period until I get really in tune all this stretching stuff. And then of course I kind of start to think, on a higher look for farther, And because I was also maybe in a village, born in a village, and I want to bigger stuff. Sure. And that brought me, let's say, also this, like I said, this influence of the teachers, and also this wish of, doesn't matter which instrument you play, that you play the music. So of course I was violinist at the beginning, like autodidact, so self-made. And to express with the bass was also a nice dream, because also people thought also that time the bass, it's only the near edges, like a pig, so it should sound like a pig.
Right.
The ideal sound of a bass player should sound like a pig. And I would say, no, we can play very famous pieces, So I start to play folk music pieces on the bass to show to the guys that in my village that the bass is not only a pig. Sorry, my answer was very long.
No, it's great. I love it. I think I remember that you were originally from Transylvania, but that's everybody has a certain image in mind when they think of that might not be accurate, totally. But certainly a colorful image. Wow. Okay, so have you? It's so interesting to me to see the bass start to get accepted more as a solo instrument. We've still got a lot of work to go in terms of that, but even in my, I've been playing the bass 30 years, I think, at this point, and I've seen quite a change too. And I think the internet's helped a lot too, just because we're seeing all these great players. Yes. Where this is another huge question. Let me just give you only huge questions, Petru. Where do you see solo bass playing going? How do you see what have you seen over the last couple decades? Where do you think we're headed with that? Because we have the level just keeps going up and up and up in my perception. If I look back to when I was 30 years ago versus now, it's incredible. We had great players, but I might be wrong, but it just seems to me like we're just and the quantity and the level of solo players keeps getting higher and higher. I was at the Bradisich competition in 2017 and I saw people from all over the world, and just like that, it's incredible. So I'm just curious what so you're in this world much deeper than me. Like where do you see things going?
No.
And again, that's a terrible question.
I think you're deep, very deep too. I don't know. I'm not a visionary, but things. Of course, is a complex question. Yeah, it's a. I think the most of the time, because the people have also the opportunity to watch. The internet did develop very much. People start to look and have more courage and say, "Oh, it's possible." And look for 1,000 times a video, and you get. I had a student. He came. He was 15, a young student, and he he came with Dittersdorf. He was kind of his first piece, and play exactly like one guy. I don't give names, but exactly like the guy. And he was, I think he looked like 1,000 times and tried to, and he was always idolizing this guy, and he played exactly like him. So I think this brought people to have a better image. I mean, to compare, and people start to be in love with some players, and follow, and have ideas how we should. And I think this brought people far. And sincerely, that brought me also like a teacher and also like a player. I was normally I wanted to always do better than myself, and that was and the other one thing. Another thing I want to note that my knowledge is more better than my playing. So because we can really know a lot. We can talk and have really very scientifically, but playing, it's somehow the difference of your knowledge and your playing. So this I was always taking care not to push. I mean, not to be big difference. I mean, I wanted to keep my playing. So this self-analyzing, I think people started also. We have also young people who are intelligent who comes and play, and they have this idea. I think this brought also this point, and what that brings. I think we like a bass player. Of course, it was as a concept, so that we used to play in orchestra mostly, and then we got kind of trying to imitate, let's say, to play like a soloist, like a cello, And this is, of course, great because people want to not to be less recognized like a violinist player, and that was also my big fight. Let's say I was in academy, in Menuhin Academy, the scholarship, and they were really high talented people. It was only 15 people, but really very talented people. And everybody was practicing like mad, and they were really good. But somehow it's always this impression. I had always this impression: the violinists, they're always the big nose, the nose very high. So this arrogance, what we play, we are the kings,
right.
And I really hate this. A bit respect, and so I wanted to be treated with respect.
Yes.
like every pianist, great pianist or great violinist, that I really learned to. I to read a lot, and I tried things a lot from violin schools. I know everything from Leopold Mozart until 20th century, schools. And I know cello schools, so I wanted to, to get really as close as possible to the knowledge, to what really the others they have, and to put it to myself, not to be inferior to these guys. I think this to come back to your question, I just a bit think about myself.
Sure.
It's not about my ego, but I thought, people started they wanted to have the same respect or like the other instruments, not seeing like really a heavy instrument and bad played. So we want that in the music, and we're seeing also like in musicians, and I think this made people also push that far, that they started really to play in a time position very virtuoso, so because that's what really comes virtuoso when you go in a half time position,
right?
Normally in a low position, So, but I think the challenge is for our like a bass player not to know your role, and that's also like a teacher. I'm trying to have the students that they really know what their role is, to know the fundament. And they can really play an orchestra, a fourth, a pizzicato, wonderful in time and wonderful color. And there's also virtuosity, not that you play fast or, fast movements, whatever. And so this recognizing, I think that will be the future, to be complex bass player, not only a virtuoso and play some fast piece, but also being good at playing low, in a low position, playing the middle. So I'm always saying until the D is bass. Up to D is until octave is of cello, and then comes a bit brace, so viola, and then violin. So I kind of share this, the bass cello, so on the string, so that also the technique is different when you play in the lower position, and also in the middle position it comes more like a cello. So the weight attitude is to be like cello, and the higher you go, you have to come a bit like the violin.
Yeah, that's a great observation, because it really is almost a different instrument, right? And there is a virtuosity in playing those first position notes really well and getting that like C natural on the A string, like and then in tandem with other players. I mean, that is a skill that's maybe more challenging than a lot of people think. But yeah, as soon as you get into that thumb position area, your bow angle is going to be different. Your position of your body is going to be different. The way that bow strokes react is going to be different. And then you get into that upper register. It really does. That's an analogy I use with some of my students in my limited teaching, is just like, this is almost a totally, now we put the thumb on the octave, and now it's almost a different instrument when we're up here, to me at least.
yeah. But I think, this is what you to answer back your question. I think also people start to write good, very good methods. Really they start to analyze things. I think more and more people who really think analyzing this in the very good direction, and like Jeff Brodetich, and others. They wrote books, and I think this make people. Every stone is a cathedral, belongs to the big cathedral we build up. But you're right. I mean, everything we have to be in a half position, also very clean. Yeah. And that's why I have my own my own scale system. This is not yet finished to publish, but I'm working on.
All right.
My next project.
Well, we'll have to do a round 2 interview on that when that's getting ready to come out. I can't wait to hear about that. That's really cool. That sounds excellent. What a big project. So
it starts half position. Let's say half position. I call first position.
Yep.
But that's really learn to play in tune lower, because this is the most difficult, and also for the physically you are a bit higher, and the heart have to pump more blood, and so I think we should learn everything to feel how it works.
I can't wait to check that out. I can't wait to see what your plans are and how you approach it. And yeah, it's so interesting that I know it's different with different schools, but the way I was brought up, we start in first and half position in that area. And it's funny. That's like you're saying, that's the trickiest part of the bass to play. I think some of my first notes were on the A string in half position, and I see. And so there's a big trend over here in the States, at least, to start people up by the neck block, the Rabath kind of system. But that doesn't, then when people go to youth orchestra, they're playing music that's not written there. So there's always this struggle between that. So it's, everything's evolving. I think that's one of the exciting things about the bass world, though, and all these composers that are composers that are writing for the bass, and people in our community, but then Missy Mazzoli and other big names that are writing for the instrument and trying different tunings even. And it's an exciting, maybe there's that experimental nature of the bass. It's sort of like the Wild West of musical instruments in some way. It's different than writing another violin concerto. I think that there's a little bit of that can be exciting to composers. It can be a little mysterious to composers who haven't written for bass, but it can also be very exciting. And it's cool to see what composers from different walks of life are doing with the instrument in these new compositions.
Yeah, that's just amazing. What imagination, and it like you say, it's a Wild West. So kind of everybody can try everything they can do. But I mean, we have to also be very sincere. We are an orchestra instrument too. So I mean, and so, of course, if we have arrived at a certain level, you can do everything. But like a teacher, you have to really teach really good the basics. The people can win a bread and can eat and get a job. So this mix of really be on the earth, really see what is important. And then if people really are open-minded, they can have experience, they have a financial security, then can try everything. But I mean, we will not change the quartz tuning in quartz and orchestra for sure. We will not change this, but then we have to be realistic that it's important to start to play really good bass. Don't try to imitate the cello. Myself, I will not put a higher C, because the sound is not natural. I mean, it's not the one I imagine. So I try to to be a bass player, and I said without being a bass player, but trying to play crazy things, violin pieces was really more difficult. But to stay on the bass. Yeah. Somehow, whatever. I mean, but like I said, it's great that people try it out, and it's a fantasy, and it makes a huge difference for our instrument.
Yeah. Petra, I'm such a fan. Big hugs from California. It's great. I look forward to sharing another dinner with you one of these days. Hopefully we'll get some travel going again here someday. Hopefully soon. But I'm a fan of everything you do. I've been meaning to chat with you for years, so it's great to finally sit down and carve out some time.
Me too. Me too. I'm very a fan of you. What you do, you do a great work for the bass. It's fantastic. You show all the sides of the bass, and you open mind. So that's really great for us to have you.
Oh, I appreciate it. I'm also a big fan. So. Well, let's whenever your book gets ready to go and it gets ready to publish, please let me know, and let's hop on and do another chat and let folks know about it. And anything you got coming up, let me know. Obviously for the podcast, but we've got a newsletter that we can share out about anything you got going on. Just keep me posted. I'm a fan of what you do, and like I said, you're one of these names that it's like over here we have Paul Ellison or we have Hal Robinson. You're one of those names that I hear mentioned over and over again. When you look at someone who's doing really cool things, you are so frequently a part of their mix these days. They've had master classes with you or studied with you, and so you're probably aware of that. But that's just you're definitely you're changing.
No, I'm not.
Oh, well,
what I want to say that of the projects, if you, I think it's an interesting project that I'm doing now. Work if you what you broadcast is interesting. Is that I'm now part of the String Virtuoso Music Edition.
I will promote that. Guess what? I am in about 5 minutes chatting with George Martin about String Virtuoso. Isn't that hilarious? Great. What a small world! Because I've worked with him on some projects. I will link up to that and mention that and point that to. That's right. I think that's been announced publicly, hasn't it? I think there's a video of you, right?
I think that they have on the homepage, but I'm working now on all the edition, all the transmission I did, and I have to record it and give the editions. Okay, and that's my next project now, the big project. But also I did a CD, and then will come a CD out. Maybe this 1 hour or the CD will come out probably. If you're interested to know about, I record 4 sonatas like Weinberg, Schubert Arpeggione, Levitin Sonata, and Hindemith Sonata.
Wow.
So I have. And it will come in the next month. Will come out.
Let me know when it's getting ready to come out. I will put out a link to that too. If this episode isn't out yet, I'll link up to it in the episode. But yeah, just keep me posted on what you're up to. It's great. We'll let's have this be the first of many conversations, my friend. I'd love to have you back.
Me too. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Petra, let's have this be the first of many for sure. Check him out online at petraiuga.com. That's linked up in the show notes. You can find that. Whatever you're listening to this on, if you look at that device, there's probably a way to scroll through and find that. You can also go to our website, contrabassconversations.com. We are closing in on 800 episodes. That is a lot of these, but I enjoy every single one of these. I imagine that comes through. It's a fun thing I've been doing, kind of a self-improvement exercise, if you will, that also goes out into the public. I recommend everybody do a podcast. It's a great, I think the only downside is time. And it does take time. Let me tell you. Oh my goodness. I do these things in batches. If you listen all the way through and get to these outros, you know that. And so what happens is I have light weeks and I have heavy weeks. And I do these interviews in batches too. I do the work I have to do, like these intros and outros and a few other tasks in batches once every 2 weeks. So it's like I don't even think about the podcast, and then it's like nothing but podcast for a day or a couple days even. And then so today I am doing just like all podcast all the time. I've been up since 7 a.m. I've been doing interviews all day and frantically scrambling to get these next couple weeks of episodes ready to go, but I will get them ready to go. I have enough time. So I'm able to talk a little bit at the end here. And then next week's going to feel a little bit lighter. It's one of those things that the podcasting, if you've heard me babble about podcasting before, you've probably heard this before, but to me, there's nothing hard about podcasting. It's just a lot of little steps, but it's a lot of little steps. And it takes not nearly as much time as doing video at a high level, but it takes much more time than you might think, at least to do it the way that I do it, that we do it here. But it's fun. The juice is worth the squeeze, but there is squeeze. Does that make sense? I don't know. Maybe I'm starting to lose it. I better close out of this outro and thank the team, Michael Cooper, Steve Hinchy, Mitch Mooring, and Trevor Jones. Mitch makes beautiful basses in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, award-winning basses. You can check him out online at mitchmooring.com. I'm your host, Jason Heath, and we will see you again soon for more life on the low end of the spectrum.